So good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to discuss SharePoint forms and how to create a workflow dashboard. So my name is Don Lambanan. I am a form developer for Qdabra, and I have been with Qdabra for over 4 years now. And a quick introduction is that I've been working uh, or creating dashboards for almost 4 years, ever since I started. And today we're going to discuss all about dashboards. So for today's agenda, we're going to discuss and show you how a dashboard can help you by saving time, setting status on more than one form at once, using a bulk editing dashboard, and to help you focus your attention by using a highlighting rows that haven't been updated recently. So it's going to we're going to demo that later. And for quick stats, it's going to help you get intel on your business process right away at a quick glance. So first thing, what is a dashboard? A dashboard is an information management tool that helps keep track of metrics relevant to a business, a department, and highlight particular problems that require further attention, or basically an overview of a specific process which is easy to read at a quick glance. A dashboard is an effective tool because they are centralized. For all business purposes and data management needs, a dashboard is a central location that integrates data from a number of sources. You can query a database, an InfoPath list, or a SharePoint list, or a library. Now, why are dashboards important and why do you need it? Of course, you'd want to stay on top of things. In order for you to do that, you need to have a progress report which presents updated information or real-time data. At a quick glance, even if you are somewhere else, like a party or a meeting, you can quickly check your phone to see what's happening. Now, why are we going to use InfoPath if you already have a library or a list? Well, an InfoPath dashboard is user-friendly because it's very customizable. Its customizability gives better user experience. It allows InfoPath designers to create a dashboard specific for the user's needs. You can do sorting, filtering, date calculations, collapsible sections, etc. And there's no need to create views for various types of filtering. You can use a filter just to query the exact data that you need. So for libraries and lists, you have this at the library settings wherein you can create different views and set your filters. Using an InfoPath dashboard, there's no need for you to do that. You can just click on what you need and click on the search button. For aesthetics, an InfoPath dashboard is a lot more pleasing to look at. And this is a very important aspect when working with tons of data. The layout structure is going to be easier to follow. It is enjoyable and people get more value out of it since they no longer need to have several pages or websites open. For usability, an InfoPath dashboard can provide more functions with lesser clicks in order to keep the information easy to access. Since you have the InfoPath designer who's going to design your form for you, you can tell the designer to design the form that suits you. An InfoPath dashboard can also trigger email workflow actions. It can have hyperlinks for opening up forms, images, attachments, or for opening up an email using the mail to function. Now, also we have bulk editing to save you time for editing a lot of forms, and scannability, because the InfoPath dashboard is centralized. You can decipher information at a quick glance. For flexibility, it is accessible on a variety of interfaces such as PC, mobile, or tablet. Now, it's going to be hard if you are opening up an InfoPath library on a tablet, since the links and buttons are going to be small. Now, using a customized InfoPath form, you can resize the sizes of the fonts, the hyperlinks, the buttons to whatever suits your needs. So you can open it up on your tablet. Now, for the first demo that I'll be showing you today, this is the edit tool. As you can see here, we have this update button that triggers the form to update a number of rows here, and each of the rows here will be submitted to the library as an XML using the submit to SharePoint command. So I'm going to open up the first dashboard that I'll be showing you, and it's this one. So I'll just refresh it to see if the data is the latest one. Okay, so this dashboard is getting data from this library. That's exactly the data that is being showed here. Now, what we're going to do is select all of the items here and select a status. I'll put them all to completed and click the update button.
Don, there's a little bit of a lag when you switch back to the library, but I think people understand that you're pulling content from that library. And so maybe if you can just, looks good though, you updated them all to be completed, right?
Yep. There's a problem with the check button here, the image, but this was working earlier. I'm not sure what happened here. So I'm going to open up this dashboard and show you what happened in the background.
Can you also show them the library where the items were to show them that the workflow status changed for all of those items? I think that's the main benefit here for folks, is that anyone watching, you have a lot of forms and you don't necessarily want to have to click on the drop down for each one and change the workflow status. So we've been inspired by one of our customers to do this quick demo for you, and I want to thank Lynn Harmon for this wonderful idea. And you can see here that the status was indeed updated for all those items. Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Patrick. Now, going back to the form, let's see, do I have it open? Not yet. On this form, we're doing a copy table technique. So on form load, what it does is it's going to query the data from the library and trigger the copy data technique here, which is on the copy data node at the main data source. And for this one, it's going to use the first, it's going to count the number of rows returned by the library. And next is delete the table, so you have a fresh table there. So it's going to delete everything here. And insert the number of rows that has been counted previously. Now, once that has been counted, there's this action rule here, which is going to set the count, wherein if count is greater than 0, it's going to set the index and set the values coming from the invoice request library. Now, why are we doing this? This is important because we are submitting each row as an XML to the library. So we need to copy the data first onto the main data source, and when it's there, the update button is going to trigger the rule here, which is the submit to SharePoint command, and submit each row as an XML. And as you can see here, it's setting this XML, secondary data source XML, to the value of the items coming from the main data source. And when that's done, it's going to call the command, and here we are showing if it did successfully submit, and if it fails, it's going to show an error here. So it's going to show this icon. So,
and Don, just a quick interjection again here. Sorry, this is Patrick. I just wanted to point out to folks, this is a very complex technique. So if you're feeling, and Don's doing a great job explaining it, but if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, we're going to be giving you these samples as part of the webinar, and we're more than happy to help you set it up. That one thing I want to point out to folks is that this insert technique that he's using is one of like 3 techniques for copying data. It works well for small number of data, like less than 100. We also have another technique called transform that allows larger data sets to be transformed. That's it. Thanks.
okay, so thank you, Patrick. And we're going back to the form here. So after we've updated the form, you can see here everything has been completed. Now this is going to save you a lot of time, since you don't need to open each form one by one and update its status. Now that's going to cost you a lot of time if you're working with hundreds of forms. This dashboard is really going to help you save time. Now for the next demo, it's a much simpler dashboard. It's a leave request dashboard that shows highlights on what has been approved and what's been rejected. So the main focus for the second dashboard is the focus attention, which is going to be the highlights. So at a quick glance, you will see here that the items here have been submitted or approved and rejected. This is just a simple dashboard which performs a simple query technique using a regular data connection. So if I just search for my name, and hit the search button here, it should just return all the items that I have submitted. And we have a reset button if we just want to query all the approved ones, or just search for Patrick as the manager.
One interesting point to call out here is, this is a great example that Don's showing of the formatting technique. This is actually running in InfoPath Form Services on SharePoint on-prem, and you can see that there's that sending data to the server whenever he clicks on the search button. For those of you using FormsViewer, you won't see that. It'll be instantaneous. And actually, we don't have this form loaded to FormsViewer. But as you were seeing earlier with the other example, that form is actually in FormsViewer. Is it, Don, the first demo was FormsViewer, right? I believe so.
Yes, Patrick, that's correct.
Yeah, so once again, just for those of you who don't know what FormsViewer is, it's an app that we've created to replace InfoPath. It takes an InfoPath form as is, and it lets you render it in the browser, and it's fast because it doesn't do the postbacks.
Thanks, Patrick. Now, I'm going to show you the second form, and here it is. So this is just a very simple dashboard. What it does is it queries the library. Though it has keyrules here, it's not really using any keyrules command. It's just querying the data, and we're displaying the data coming from the secondary data source. So the first action that the search button does here is it sets the filter coming from this field onto the filter field or the query field here at the secondary data source for the query data connection. And after that, it's going to query the data connection. So that's it. It's plain and simple, and it's going to help you show what the highlights are for the leave requests. Now for the next dashboard, this is a very complex one. It's querying a lot of items. It's querying the database using QueryDB, which is a web service from DBXL. It's querying the resources from a SharePoint or O365 SharePoint list. And also it submits to a library, and it performs complex queries that is shown here. It's doing an OR and an AND function combined, and it does a lot of stuff. So
Still waiting for it to refresh. Yeah, I don't know if you've moved to it yet, Don, but oh, there it is. I can see it. Great.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, one more point, and if you could go to, click on active tickets there. This is a dashboard that we use internally for all of our support tickets. So if you see your name here, I'm sorry about that. But we are supporting you, right? One other thing to point out here is that we actually modified this dashboard to use the technique that Mel described in last week's webinar, which is the making things look beautiful technique, the CSS technique. And this is an InfoPath form, believe it or not. Don, could you shrink your screen and show them how the header and the footer scale when you shrink it? This is using a dynamic CSS to make the dashboard look more beautiful. And if you missed that webinar, you can see it on YouTube. We also have the webinar packages now are free to download from our web store. You just have to log in or ping us and we'll send it to you. But this is a really cool technique, and it works really well on mobile devices as well, because obviously you've got different screen resolutions. That's the only comment I had. And if you got questions, folks, don't hesitate to throw those questions into the question area. Don's going to show this in the designer next, just to prove to you that it really is indeed an InfoPath form.
I don't have this form, Patrick. It's still with Mel. I have the older form.
Yeah, the old one will work. It's fine. We got this. We had kind of a late update for this form, but I mean, you could download it. But anyway, it's fine. Just open the old one to show them. I think they'll get the idea. It's just that it looks a little bit different in the header and the footer. Otherwise, it's the same form.
Yeah. Thanks, Patrick. So this is the same form. As you can see here, it has a lot of sections. So it uses a hide show logic here for the types of filter that you want to use. And here we have lots of data connections because we're querying a lot of items. We're querying fog bugs as well.
Can you show them the hide show when the forms open? If you switch back to it, Don, maybe pick one of the open tickets and just expand it. Maybe one of the ones that's a little older to show how the details appear on the screen. And you know, this is one of the cool things about using InfoPath as your web page designer, is that you can do quite a bit of things. Like if you see the little arrows next to these doc IDs, Don, why don't you pick one that's a bit older, days open, like pick that one, the one down at the bottom for Mora, maybe just expand that one. And so some of you who are on the call have support tickets here, and you may be wondering, well, why are they still open? We just like to keep track things, basically to make sure that we're staying on track. And you can see there's been some updates to this. So that's an example of that hide show that he was talking about earlier. And we even have links to fog bugs so we can track the cases in our bug database as well. And that's another benefit of using InfoPath to link to these separate sources. Done?
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Another key thing here is we have this small summary table here. So at a quick glance, you can see what's happening, how many total forms are there active, how many is assigned to who, and you also have the resolve query here, so it's going to show all the resolved cases. And one cool thing here is I've added this mark checkbox, which is going to submit to a SharePoint library, and the next time I open it, or the next time I open this up, it's going to mark this one, and what it means is that I've already submitted a follow-up to the customer. So that's great for keeping track of all the things that's been happening on the customer support side. And another thing that we have here is the hyperlinks. So you can open up the support form, and another hyperlink for opening up the email for quickly sending an email follow-up.
This example is a very complex example. We're going to include this as well, but you won't have access, obviously, to all of our data connections. But if you'd like us to implement something similar for you, it definitely can be done, and it's not too crazy complex, but this one is a very complex form, and it gives you an idea of what you can do.
Okay, another thing here is that it's doing a complex type of filter wherein you can search for equals to or not equals to. So if I search for not equals to closed and what's assigned to me, it's going to return the number of tickets that's currently assigned to me. Okay, so we have resolved tickets here, investigate, it's active, and on hold. Now do we have this form? Yep, so as you can see here, we have multiple sections. This checkbox performs the same action, I believe. It triggers a submit somewhere. I see, it's here. So it's triggering a submit here using the submit to SharePoint list, and it's updating that list to the value of updated or follow-up sent. And the next time I open this form up, it's going to highlight that row. So I believe that's all I have for now. Patrick, do you have any other comments?
Great job on the demo. Even with your bandwidth from Manila, it's still just fine. I mean, it's a little bit slow, but it's fine. And that was our main concern. For those of you watching, we were worried about the bandwidth issues. But thanks, Don, for doing all that. Like I said, we will be including these samples in the package for you. And I think, Don, let's actually go to the next slide, the question slide. We've got a couple things to just call out again at the end here, and I'll talk to those slides. But so we just saw this ability to see the quick stats, and really what that form is showing is how many items are currently open that we want to focus on what's resolved and keep those counts down. So if you've got questions, please add those, and we'll answer those. Let's go to the next slide, Don, and I think we have a slide here on this FormsViewer app that we're trying to get people to adopt. We have quite a few customers using, we have the leave request solution, which you saw a very simple sample of, which with the dashboard that you showed. We have a much more compelling example. If you're interested in deploying that, we can help. But what I really want to talk about was this this app for SharePoint that we're trying to. Anyway, we've been working for 3 years on FormsViewer app, and it's going really well. We've got quite a few customers using it, and it is faster than InfoPath, but it takes InfoPath form as is. We are starting to work on the Forms Designer piece as well, so we do have a path forward for you. You don't need to worry about the roadmap from Microsoft. There are Power Apps now in Flow, but those two technologies still don't cover most of the forms out there. Specifically, most of the forms are going to have repeating structures, repeating tables, repeating sections, and Power Apps does not currently support that. It also requires a list format as a data source. InfoPath forms are unique that they're documents, and that means you can run a workflow on them. You can have a copy, a record of something that happened at a certain time, versioning. And that's really important for most business processes, that you have a copy in time, a record of what happened, and you're not just looking at a list changing. So InfoPath is still very important because of those two requirements, repeating tables and document-centric storage. And FormsViewer supports that, obviously. FormsViewer supports InfoPath. It's faster, it's zero to low cost, and we've got all the curls commands that are important built into FormsViewer, so you've got extended functionality there without requiring any code or sandbox. That's it for my quick ad. I don't see any questions there. If people have a comment or a question, we would appreciate it. And I want to thank Dawn again. Dawn, great job today. If you we'll get this video up on YouTube. Looks like we have one question here from Donald. Thank you, Donald, for asking. Is the 625 for 4 hours per quarter, or is it 625 per quarter or per year? Yeah. So the basic plan is 625 per quarter, 4 hours. Basically, if you sign up for support, and you don't have to, but if you do have a support plan with us, it is a recurring either per quarter or per year, and our lowest plan is 4 hours per quarter. You can also purchase support packs as you go. You can do, if you just need 1 hour of support, you can go onto our web store and you can purchase 1 hour. And that doesn't give you the responsiveness of a support plan, but it does give you, it's only, I think it's $150 per hour. And sometimes that can be more than 1 hour, because if we have a resource that's helping you that is not at that higher end rate, then it will be more than 1 hour. The plans, though, yeah, thank you for the question, Donald. It is true that the starting plan for support is the basic plan, and that's 4 hours per quarter, 16 hours a year. And basically you're paying for the support time. If you take that 4 hours times 150, it equals 600. The additional 25 is really the responsiveness. So we're going to be responding within 48 hours to you versus a week if you just purchase a pack. And sometimes it's faster than that, faster than 48 hours, faster than a week, but that's how we're differentiating. Any other questions for me on FormsViewer or on dashboards? We're going to get this package uploaded, and we have a very short survey for you, 4 questions, so please fill that out and let us know if you want some help in deploying these forms. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Don, if you could switch to that last slide real quick, the thank you. We are doing a webinar next week. We're not quite sure what it is yet, so if you have a suggestion, we'd love to hear from you, and hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here. We look forward to serving you. Take care. Thanks, Don.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.